So it's been less than 24 hours in which Vitaly's cameraman was arrested in the Philippines. And very much, some people were wondering what happened to him. His cameraman, of course, is Filipino. He's a citizen of the Philippines, and we always wonder, how this relationship came about in the first place, right? How they got into a contract. How the cameraman got paid, and as being, of course, Vitali was accused of, serious crimes, in which most likely, his destiny is, his future is very much, uh, his situation is not good. But now that his cameraman, a Filipino, citizen, was arrested, and we just wonder, well, Philippines has 7,000 islands, in which, from going from one island to the next to the other one, there's always, the when you take the ferries or take, even private boat, there are some lots of control of how people go from one island to another one. So it's very much unlikely that he never left the country, of course, uh, because the only way is take an airplane, right? Via airplane, and there is a control, of course, customs and immigration, everything that we know of. So most likely, the last couple of weeks, he was negotiating through his lawyer, of course. He got, of course, everything went public, so he got his most likely his lawyer, which who he was, who this lawyer was most likely negotiating. He is, turning him. I mean, just to get, voluntarily, just, come to a police station and just say, well, I'm here. Like, he was advised most likely for a couple of weeks to do that, but finally, well, there was some, social media reports that he was eating at a restaurant, at a local restaurant. He's a very well-known face, just like Vitali. Maybe not at that height, but he was very much, at least local in the Philippines, he was very well-known face. So there is no way you can go anywhere without being recognized, and that somebody will tip, the Filipino police that he was around, or, visiting a family member or anything like that. But look, the Filipino law, I mean, the code of the law code that rules the Philippines, the court system, the law books, right, comes from a colonial area. Remember that, and I'm getting a little to, brief comment about the colonial era law, because to go to the place where we're gonna, very much dig into it, how this gonna take place in the next chapter, in this in the next chapter for both, actually. And as we know, the Filipino was conquered by the Spanish Empire back then in the early 1500s. I mean, 15, century, and of course for over 300 years, um, the Philippines, all these islands, these people will live under the Spaniard colonial, power, the empire. They were colonized. Even the language, it was introduced, the Catholicism, the Christianity, and the oldest university in Asia is in the Philippines. Was introduced, by the Spaniard, just like in Latin America. Remember, that Latin America was conquered, but also by the Spanish Empire in the same thing in the early 1500s, and the Philippines was ruled from Mexico, from the Viceroyal of Mexico back then. Think about that. I mean, how things were back then. The ruler of the Philippines was in Mexico, not even in Spain. I mean, of course, King Philip, right? Back then, and remember the Philippines, even the name of the Philippines, right, was put to honor King Philip. Philip Inns, right? Philip. So to honor the King Philip in Spain. So very much the law code, how the law system work, the court system work, is very much similar to Latin America, that was introduced by the Spaniards. That's what the Latino or Spanish people, all Latin America, from Mexico to Argentina, was ruled by Spain. So we inherited not just the last names or the names or the accent or the language, but very much just like the Philippines back then, right? For over 300 years, it was ruled. Then it was sold. The Philippines was sold to the United States, and then, but the funny thing is that the oldest university in Asia was in the Philippines. That was introduced by the Spanish. Even before the universities in in the 17th centuries, when United States became the United States of America, and started the first colleges and universities. The Philippines was they were already for centuries. There was the oldest university in the Philippines to for the education of the Filipino people. But so the rule of law, how this works, how the court system works, and how these all local laws about even to be offensive to the against the public morality, like the law, the moral law, because this most of these offenses from Vitaly, most of these crimes, is not like that he killed somebody or he stole. Well, he was pranking, he was joking. Apparently, he didn't know that just pranking or trying to, pranking meaning like pretending to rob some, just like he did to that lady. I'm gonna rob you something, he says, right? So that was a joke for him, but not for the law, for the Filipinos law, I mean, right? So this is serious stuff. So as the time went on, how these law, well, they have modernized, of course. They have updated their own laws, of course, just like any other country. But not even as early as like 2017, a widow, for instance, in the Philippines, a widower, a female widow could not marry by law after 1 year or after the husband has passed away. Think about, I mean, just 8 years ago. That's 8 years ago, right? Not too long ago, right? So they have been modernizing their laws, of course, but these two guys are in trouble. One is Filipino citizens, and the other one is Russian American, Russian citizen, of course, Vitaly. But now, why I'm mentioning citizenship of two people? I mean, under the law, right? Taking as a foundation the Spaniard law, right? We are equal, right? We are all equal. Of course, in this case, one is a Western citizen, which is Vitaly, and the other one is not. It's an Oriental. So how are you going to apply for both the same law, right? The same offenses, the same crime. How are you going to apply the same crime for a Western guy, who is Vitaly, and for an Oriental who is Sly, the cameraman? So how are you going to apply the same law for both? That's going to be a crucial for the lawyers, right? Even for Vitaly's lawyer, and also for the cameraman, Sly. He's a Filipino, right? So they're going to have each of them. They're going to need two good lawyers, and of course, lawyers who knows about history, the colonial era law, that can bring all this background history into the court. I mean, in front of the judge, to understand what happened here exactly. What happened? The other one, because the crime that has been committed, one can argue, the Western guy Vitaly can argue that he didn't know the custom, the local custom, because he's a Western, so he didn't know the Asian, the culture, the custom of the Asian population. He could. His lawyer could argue all those, and his lawyer even can argue that Sly, the cameraman, was a consultant. That he was not just the technician guy, holding the camera and filming his pranks, but he was also the consultant. That he could even argue that. I'm not saying that he's going to do that, right? But knowing how the law works in these societies, I mean, we can assume that, right? Just assume, because I can't be certain, right? But that the cameraman was also a consultant, not just a technician holding a camera filming, right? And of course, he can argue that he didn't know the language, the official language, which is Tagalog or English, right? Those are the official languages that he can argue that he didn't know when he was doing his prank. The reaction was that he didn't know the other local languages around, around the city, around the country. So that he can argue, even his lawyers, Vitaly's lawyer can argue that Sly the camera was like an advisor, not just a consultant, like the film editor or cameraman, but he can argue that he was also an advisor to how to do about, right, the pranks. I mean, how to, edit the story, how to, prepare it, how to do the script writing, because you have to. In some cases, even pranks, yes, you do need to write a script. So who was the script writer? Who was the script writer for these pranks? That's going to be an open question in front of the court, in front of the judge. So Vitaly's lawyer can argue that Vitaly was just following a script that was written by a local guy, a local person, writing the script so he can execute the pranks. I mean, there are so many possibilities here, and I'm not saying that that's exactly what's going to happen, right? But guy, listen, if he most likely he was advised. I mean, it's like the cameraman to get a lawyer. He's been free for, I mean, free meaning, he was of course hiding, but he got a lawyer. Mostly he was advised to better get a lawyer from your winnings. I mean, he won some money. I mean, and he whatever funds or saving he has, he's gonna have to spend in lawyers. I mean, most likely he had a lawyer. Like, I'm doing some consulting with most likely from somebody in the government, just to turn him, to in a way so he can be arrested, or just to present, to the. It's better to you can voluntarily come to the say and stay clean. If you have nothing to hide, why not coming to come on your own foot to the police station, right? But now, well, you know what happened just less than 24 hours ago. And now, the other thing now, Sly, the Filipino guy, the cameraman can argue is in his favor, right? Is that he can argue that he was just getting paid. I mean, from Vitaly, he was just not even a contract. What if there's a written contract with him and Vitaly? What does the contract says about that relationship, that working relationship between Vitaly and the cameraman? Was there a contractual relationship? I mean, with a contract? How long was the contract? How much was getting paid? There's so many, right? So many questions, right? It's going to take place now, the second chapter, because this is going to continue. And that how much he was getting paid, that he was just an employee, that he can argue in his favor, his lawyer, that he was just an employee under the Vitaly's command and the Vitaly's direction to what to do, and he can argue in his favor. And look, knowing the code, the how investigation can take place, the Philippine system, of course, is a Western system very much. Spanish Empire, Spain is a Western country, right? So the background, the foundation of how the Filipino law works is based on that. And then remember, the Philippines was ruled under the rule of the United States. So very much what they do in the United States and Spain, when they caught two accomplices or a group of three people who had committed very much the same crime. I mean, they have participated. They are like a conspiracy thing. That in association, right? They did in association in this case, right? Because there are two now, right? The cameraman and Vitaly, the YouTuber Vitaly. Now, if they are in association, what kind of association is that? And they can, they can negotiate with one of them to turn against each other, meaning that the government, I mean, the Filipino government or the court system, the prosecutor can use one of them to accuse as a witness for the prosecution, right? To turn against the other one, for what to reduce sentences. That's very common in Western society, and in this, just like in Spain, right, and the United States, it does work. I mean, for whatever information, if there's more information, if they want to research, I mean, with the investigation in progress. So this is not the last time we're gonna hear from them, or the last chapter of the whole thing was, of the situation. But the news that the cameraman was caught. I mean, he wasn't really hiding that hard, maybe. But well, maybe he had so many friends in the Philippines that he was trying to, publicly, of course. I mean, the government's officials were saying that they were looking for the cameraman, and some people were gossiping that maybe he fled to Thailand, that he had some friend in South Korea, that it may be other Asian countries. But it was, of course, some, that's part of the gossip that goes on, in social media sometimes. But the truth is that, the fact is that, well, he was caught. And now, his crimes. Some people say, some legal expert says, well, it's going to be only like 12 years. Else he can face like 12 years, but maybe less than that, or maybe more than that, depending on what Vitaly lawyers come about. I mean, what they're going to say, what they're going to argue in their own favor, right? Now, before they were friends, they had, they did work together, but now, uh, once they get presented, separately, even if they have presented in the same with the same jury, I mean, with the same judge at the same time in the same day, right? The whole process of that's going to take place, still they can turn to each other. I mean, accuse each other of doing the thing that well, I didn't know. You can argue the cameraman. I didn't know what he was going to say. I just want to do the filming, right? But what about the editing? Why? How come you, being him, a local Filipino, didn't know the law? If the other one didn't know the law because he was a Western, he's a Westerner. Why? How come he didn't know? I mean, there are so many possibilities. Look, last case scenario. We are May, right? This is almost the middle of the year, and the new pope hasn't been elected yet, but most likely is the Filipino Cardinal Luis Antonio Bartagli. That's going to be elected the new pope in very much a few days, and the leniency. I mean, ask for mercy, ask for a pardon, and that could be, of course, by asking a pardon, or the government pardoning them, this YouTuber, and you're still making justice, or having them sentenced in the community services to serve the poor in the Philippines, to serve the church, to serve the homeless people. And there's so many things they could do outside, for these offenses, these crimes, right? That's always a possibility. Ask for a pardon to the new pope, which is most likely, as the days go by, it's going to be from the Philippines. So, and if they ended up, of course, like I said before, inside in the previous video, I touched a little bit the issue of, if you're there in jail, do have a good behavior. I mean, try to be humble. If you are even a detention facility, which even if it's not a maximum security facility, try to have good behavior. Do volunteer to teach the other Filipinos, maybe some who doesn't know how to write or read. I mean, try to teach something valuable to other inmates. They're human beings too. They are human beings. They are in pain. There are all these thousands of Filipinos inmates inside the field. They have families. They have children. So there's so much good to do inside the jail system, in which if you're looking for mercy, without after now that that he knows, Vitaly knows that he has crossed the red line, crossed a line that he should not have done it. But now that you're there, I mean, try to do best possible and repenting you for all the mistakes. There's never is too late for to ask for repentance. Never is too late to say I'm sorry, genuinely, from the heart. This has to come from the heart, not because it's convenient to say I'm sorry, not this because it's convenient to apologize to the Filipino people as a whole, for the whole. You have to apologize to the whole country for everything that was done, but it has to be genuine. It has to be from the heart, to be able so they really believe you, and people know if it's fake or not. So this is what I want to say. I want to give you for this evening, knowing what's going on with these two characters. I mean, these two persons that very much, they're very well known in the social media community, and of course it's a wake-up call for each one of us. So I'll leave you there. Well, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video, guys. Take care, and bye. Take care.